Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of the engine dismantling of the 6.3. A little slow going at first, but take things slowly and step by step, and hopefully won't screw anything up. So last time I left you, I was thinking I would take the plenums off with the heads, but it was becoming a little bit unwieldy. So I went ahead and took the left side plenum off, and I've loosened all the nuts for this side, and this should just lift off. I'll do that in just a sec. The injectors are still in the plenum itself. I'm able to pull those out together because I was having a little trouble with the lower spacer seal that's wrapped around the injector to free that up. I didn't want to damage anything, so I thought we'll just take it off together and do it on the bench. I did notice that the nuts on the plenums itself, from what I've heard, they're bronze, and it looks like they're all original. So they came off with very little torque value. You know, they're obviously not cranked down at a high torque. So I've been soaking everything, as I said, with PB Blaster, so it's been everything's come off pretty easy. I've been taking many photos. I was doing that anyway, but as a lot of you have given me good feedback and have suggested the same, I've been doing a lot of photos, storing them off on the hard drive there for the engine dismantling, and also individually bagged, and then I put with a Sharpie a little note inside exactly where the part comes from. If I'm a little unsure, you know, or if I'm a little vague on what to write on there, I'll write it on and actually take a picture of it in its location, so making triple sure we know how to put everything back. So let's go ahead and get this plenum off, and then I don't have to bring the camera around to show you the injection pump and what issue I was having with the fuel line in number 3, getting it out. So right, hopefully you can see that. This is the one that's giving me a trouble, so I'm going to start working my way along this way. And what's happening, you see, is that lower one, you can see, is starting to rotate. Now there is a little clip, a clamp, that clamps onto some knurling on the bottom of these fuel fittings here, but for some reason, whether whoever did it before didn't tighten them up tight enough, but the bottom one is turning, so this knurled nut is not engaging. I'm going to wedge a flat blade just there to stop it rotating, and see if we can't achieve essentially the same results. This is my valve adjusting tool, 17mm, has it. So you can see there, so if we can just wedge there you go, that's number 1. Let me show you. So obviously this is position 7 on the pump, right? And this is going to cylinder 8. Okay, so we should see, oh sorry, cylinder 4. No, this is cylinder 4. So, okay, yeah, 4 on here. There you go. Alright, see, 4, right there, that's the cylinder head end. And then 7P, the fuel pump in. So that makes it real nice so you don't get mixed up. So I'll work on getting all these off, and then we should be able to free these lines that's restricting us getting that plenum off. So we're going to be doing this guy now, okay? Oh yeah, that's easy, that one. And I'm going to go down the hardware store this afternoon and get myself some little rubber caps or something to cap all this up, because last thing you need is getting dirt in here, don't you? So we've got obviously number 5 cylinder, number 6 pump. So I think in the last video you saw me using a crow's foot, a good quality crow's foot, don't buy crap, and that works as well. I just happen to use this hazard tool that I bought for the valve adjustment. 5P and cylinder number 1. I tell you, undoing this engine is like a Rubik's Cube puzzle. There's all manner of stuff, you know, obstructing one thing and taking off another, but say getting lots of photos and taking it slow, logical steps, we should be good, shouldn't we? So shortcut that. I just took off the water thermostat here, and got to be very careful that we don't get crap down in there. So I'm going to put a bit of gentle white first, little gasket there, a metal gasket. Once I get the pump off, I'll reattach that so no filth gets in there. Some of you probably shout at the camera saying, oh, you got to take that off first. And there you go, it's a 19 by looks like, isn't it? That's better. That should be it then, shouldn't it? Get that guy out. An altitude correction box, that is, that little round thing. So anyway, now you can see the scale here on the pump. This is a calibration scale. Now, if you guys ever watched Merkmad at Ben's Craft in Australia, he did a video, and this, I think a video was called Correlation. Now there's a series of degrees on here relative to the degrees on the throttle body flap, and he had an angle gauge on the throttle body, and it had to correlate with this scale here. You see, it's obviously all real filthy at the moment. So as this went up, you know, for instance, say 20 degrees, 30, 25, whatever, it had to correlate with the flap on the throttle body. I found it fascinating, and so it was an adjustment is done on the rod at the other end here to get those correlated, because from my understand what he said, that some 6.3s are not operating at full throttle, they're not getting the full oomph that they need. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. I must get caps on all of these. I want to make sure that no dirt goes in there. This I may well set up some kind of bench flushing system to flush this completely out, and may, you know, depending on feedback from you guys, whether to get this completely overhauled or if there's anything else I can do to it short of that. So now we should be able to get those plenums off. Let's have a go, shall we? There we go. Lovely job. A lot of that moisture down the bottom there is runoff from my PB blaster. You know, there was a little wet down there, but not like that. So that's me. So there it is, and it's all its glory, the heart of the 6.3. Wonderful thing, isn't it? 8 plunger pump. I was talking to some guys on the group, and from my understanding, this very similar pump, or almost exactly the same pump, was in the Aston Martin. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, isn't that a lovely bit of kit, that? And once it's all cleaned and, well, rebuilt, it's going to look gorgeous. The heart of the beast. This was the pipe. I cut that pipe off because I'm not obviously going to put old pipes back on. So sometimes when I get these, when these are giving me grief, I just hack through them and cut them off because I'm going to replace them anyway, especially deep in the heart here. And that will be Mercedes parts, obviously. Don't worry, I'm not going to go down rebiz and cheap out. All of these clamps, clean and save all these nice clamps because they got the Mercedes symbol on them still, which is kind of cool. Let's go the other side here, and then I'll give you a shot of the plenum on the bench. Isn't that just marvellous looking machine, isn't it? It really is. It's a real pleasure to work on, really. Stressful, but a pleasure as well. So now we can get these heads off. Fairly, everything's pretty much clear. Probably take a lot of these other pipes off, so we've got complete clear deck. So let's nip over to the bench. Here is the left side plenum with the injectors sticking out there, the funny kind of bent finger ones. These were the spacers. I was having trouble separating the spacer off the injector, so I figured we'll just take them out as one. There is a paper gasket in here that I'll probably have to make. I doubt they're still available. And again, I saw Merkmad, he was making up some of his own when he put his 6.3 back on the road. And so we'll obviously have to bench test these. I'm going to get one of those pressure testers, you know, to bench test all the injectors. May give them a sort of an ultrasonic cleaning first and then put them through a tester and carefully save all these spacers and all that good stuff. These things, and these look like Bakelite or something like that, and give these plenums a good old clean. These are the drums that the boxes I'm putting all the parts in. So just these two boxes are all engine parts. Still got to take my cold start valve off this end. I'm going to put this guy back on so no dirt goes back in. Little corrosion there, kind of typical really. I'll be soaking the hell out of this with PB Blaster, our trusty friend. This was the other one that I was concerned was going to give me problems because it's water related. You always worry that, you know, the bolts are going to give you a hassle, but they did not actually. They come off quite well. You want a high quality Allen socket, obviously, you don't want crap, and then it comes off pretty nicely. Here, down here, you can see those bolts that are holding the whole pump on. There's a bracket down here that supports it part way through, about 2/3 along. That's just gorgeous, isn't it? I'd take pictures and put it on my bedside table, I think. Talked to Christopher Marshall, I think he's Australia. Chris, hey Chris. We chatted about, I did check the cam gears. The cam gears are in really nice shape. No wave pattern, you know, like a wave going in the power direction. And the chain was very tight, very good. Good pressure on the chain tensioner. Metal guides, so I'm not going to be changing them out for crappy plastic ones anyway. Maybe I can get those refaced, I don't know. Maybe someone can let me know. But these are metal guides, just like in my M117 on my 4.5. So keep hold of those things. So let's try and dislodge this guy. It's good weight, get used to the weight. And whoops, let me get that back up there a minute. Let that go. Lay that guy there. Beautiful job. Okay. Well, first off, what I'm noticing, I'll get the camera in a bit, but there's some surface rust on some of the valves here, and someone mentioned that that may be a cause of a jammed valve, and that would make a lot of sense. So let's get this one safely on the ground in a safe place, and then I'll show you the tops of the pistons. Okay, obviously I can't turn the motor over because of the chain and everything jamming up. Don't want to cack anything up there, but do you know what? First impression, from what little I know, these bores have no detectable ridge on the top, which is really good news. Forget that oil, because that oil is mystery oil that I poured down there, you know, during our pressure tests and wet tests and all that faffing around. So let me get you really in close on one. Oh, this, I tell you, I'm real happy about what I'm seeing on this side. Right, let's take this head gasket off. And if Charles is watching, I intend to send this to you, Charles, along with the other side, so we can make a pattern of these cylinder head gaskets, and hopefully if we can get a bunch of people ordering these guys, we can keep the price down. So there's one of our patterns. To my untrained eyes, it all looks completely fine. I'll get my friend Matthew over and we'll have a little look at this and see what we can do for the deduce from the condition of this head gasket, but let's get you in closer and see if we can detect anything on the bores, anything obvious. I'm not feeling, literally, I'm certainly not feeling any edge from my fingernail at all. Which, as you know, is a result. Manual said to put the number 1 at top dead center, as you can see. So let me change the light around and see, especially on this bore, we got the most of this bore to see, and see what condition the bore walls are in. Still some cross hatching in certain areas, not all, admittedly. This one is the only one that's got some discoloration on the lower side of the bore here. Okay, the upside is pretty good, it's a little shadowed here for the light. So overall I'm very pleased. It looks like we can get away with using the original pistons and just new rings and a rehone. And obviously, my pocketbook is going to like that. But yeah, just a little glazing on there really. And there's no pitting. I can't detect any pitting or anything like that. So this is really good news. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a plastic bag across it and use magnets, because there's filthy crap all over here and I obviously don't want any of that going in. Obviously it's all going to be stripped down and washed, but as little goes in as possible the better. Let's take a look at the cylinder head. Get it on a bench here. Now what I would say on first inspection, we've got obviously lot of carbon build up and deposits, and the exhaust valve took a little bit of surface rust there. And from that leak down test, someone mentioned that car's sitting a long time, you know, possibly one of the valves that would have been, this one wasn't seated properly, and that could well be the case, because it does seem to be a lot of corrosion, surface build up, and they might not be seating correctly. So I just need to get a spring compressor to remove the valves and check guide wear and all that good stuff. So this is number 4 exhaust valve that was giving us a little issue, but this one is fully closed now. Yeah, this is in the closed position. So what I could do, again another suggestion, put a plug back in now, spark plug, and then fill this bore up with you know, diesel or something, and see what leak down we get. But the thing is, this valve is partially open, I think, by the looks of it, the way the cam's positioned. So anyway, we can do that test later. This valve's open, but generally there's a little surface corrosion and carbon build up on that one. And number 3, a little cleaner maybe. This one definitely does look a little bit more built up than these guys, these remaining 3. But overall I can't see any issues with this head, any cracks or anything obvious. Certainly no corrosion around any of the ports or anything like that. The water jacket all looks really in good shape to me. So this is a bonus. One of these holes here, I believe, is one of the high pressure oil holes that pumps oil into the top of the rail, you know, for the cam. And on the other one, the left side, is where the line comes in, I think. And they were having trouble with gasket failure on the back end, but this is a later model and I think they changed it and so didn't have the issues that they had before. But we'll look closer on that. Maybe it's that one. Maybe it's this little guy here. You can see that's pretty close there. I remember some years ago Pierre was showing this as a weak point on the M100 head gaskets. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's this guy that they were having problems with. It doesn't look like to be any issue there, you know, wicking into the material. I don't know enough about it to really give a definitive answer. It looks like a little bit of blow there on that one. Again, obviously working with the right hand cylinder head. This water pipe that goes in here, this is one that I'd be concerned about, you know, for shearing bolts and stuff, because you're dealing with water and what have you. So I've been soaking these for ages, and I was able to just give the nut a good tap. Didn't take a lot, and this one's loose, and then I work them back and forth. So work the PB blaster down the thread, so there's no chance of it breaking. I'm going to strip all this head down before it goes to the machine shop, because I do have a broken exhaust manifold stud on this guy, just one on this, and I started to drill it out, but I go, you know what, might as well give the machine shop, they're doing it all the time, get them to do a nice clean job. And once I have the valves out, then we can check the seats, make sure that we don't need new valve seats and consequently new valves. Yeah, I'm not seeing any corrosion anywhere, which is really nice. No pitting. This seems like a nice head myself. So you got the plenums on the bench here now. Put a new top on the bench and a bit of galvanised steel that I had lying around, just to make a nicer area to work. So I've taken the 4 injectors out of the other plenum. I thought I'd just show you me doing it on this one. Okay, so again, we've been loosening all of these nuts with PB blaster, making sure that we have no issue there. So just loosen all those guys off. Oops. They're not torqued down to any high value anyway. And eventually we're going to get these injectors tested. I've got to look for one of those injector testers, you know, like off a Mercedes source, and pump some cleaner through these and see what our spray pattern's like. So I've got 2 washers there, a little separator block. I'm assuming this is Bakelite or something like that. Yeah, it looks like a Bakelite type material. And then kind of loosen off the top here and then give it a little bit of a wiggle, and then they come out this way. You know, you have to hook them out past the seal, and it looks like they're kind of coked up a bit. Maybe it was running a bit rich. So there's one, and then this stack block comes off of there, the other block, and there's a paper seal at the bottom here, I believe. No, I think it's just one at the bottom here, but anyway, we'll confirm that in the book. So you can see the way it's sectioned out to correspond with some flat spots here on the injector, so you can't really get it wrong, can you? So when you go to put it back in, locks in the position to keep it dead center in the intake manifold there. So again, saving all the bolts and everything, all the nuts in the bags. And then we'll get all these stripped down and we'll give these plenums a good clean. Okay, wrapped them all up, injectors and paper. I don't know when I'm going to get around to putting those to the test, but I don't want to risk damage to those of any kind, because you know how very expensive they can be. Okay, before we go over there and get the pump off, let's get that last cold start off. Pretty straightforward, 3 little Allen bolts at the end here, and then we'll see what's going on behind that cold start, see if there's anything to see. 9mm Allen wrench here, they shouldn't be on any, you know, very tight at all, you know, because obviously you don't torque these down very tight. So let's just get, they've been soaking as well, so get a grip of it. Get a little shock. There we go. Okay, dirty in there, but see, sooty. Like I say, apparently one of these was leaking, and I don't know whether they meant internally or externally, but I'll have to go through that. And apparently, I'm going to go over the video again, but I was communicating with Benchcraft in Australia, Ron, that there is like a seating valve in these that can be lapped, much like a head valve, you know, to make sure the seating's correct. And I'm sure there's a few other little tests to do, maybe test this solenoid here. So we'll bag that up, as that is the left cold start. I raided the sandwich bags, or the freezer bags actually, because they're good, they're heavy duty ones. Right, over to the pump now. Ignore the bag, I know it's a bit bright. I should have put a black one on there, but that's to keep any rubbish going into the bores, because they're kind of filthy here. And basically what we got here, we're pretty much detached here. We've got a fuel line here, and the return line, and then the inlet line here. Okay, let's get this guy undone. Little banjo, and then we'll undo this little bracket here. I'll get that guy out of the way in a minute, but let's undo these mount bolts here. Now, from memory, when these guys go back on, I think we need to be at 60 degrees on the 60 degrees on the main pulley there, and then this has a marker on there, but obviously I'm going to triple confirm that with the likes of Ron before we put this guy back on, but also obviously consult the manual. And like I say, there's a bracket down the bottom here. Yeah, it obviously has to be mounted midway, because I'm sure this has got some weight to it, this guy. Going by the weight of the 6 plunger pumps, it's kind of a big guy. Right, got space for it on the bench now. Okay, let's get this puppy off. This should just slide off. But this fuel line's still attached. We'll get that off on the bench. I'll get it up now, I'll take you over there. So there it is in all its glory. Filthy as hell, but now any input on this piece would be really appreciated. What I do know, there are some cork gaskets here and here. Various other places I can definitely replace myself, but as far as bench testing and running this pump, I would like to mount it on a frame or something and then run some cleaner through it. So any input on that would be great. Barring that, you know, if it doesn't perform well, the injectors and everything, we'll have to send it off for a rebuild, which obviously is a lot of money, but I knew that when I started. This is the connector sleeve here, I know that. There's a little connector sleeve that engages, that slides off. onto the drive there, and there is a mark, probably too dirty to see right now. Okay. There is a mark around here somewhere in this vicinity to line up, and then you set the engine to 60 degrees. So again, I'll confirm all that. This, I believe, from watching Ron, you take this off and you operate the rack. There's a rack that runs along here, but I'm sure Ron will chime in with some great advice. So there it is. I think that's probably it for today, and we'll get this put away safely, and I'll get all these plugged up so I can just clean it in a bath and just rinse it off, and then we'll see where we're at. I've been taking some of the other plumbing off of the out of the valley inside on top of the block there, various water pipes and all that good stuff. It's pretty straightforward, don't have to really show you that. This is the top pipes, goes into the throttle body here, vacuum line to distributor, and various other pipe plumbing. So that's pretty straightforward. So is this. This is goes in the valley. Now look at this. See this? That is the sum total of the wiring harness on the 6.3. So it plugs into the bulkhead there. A couple of cold start valves. This is the thermo switches. This goes into the throttle body, and then your coil and all that good stuff. So that couldn't be much simpler, could it? Oh, and this plugs into the fuel injection pump. So pretty cool, eh? So I'll check that, make sure, because some of the outer casing is fraying, and it may be a case of replacing some of these wires, unwrapping it. I don't know. Feedback on that would be awesome. All right, so let's go over to the valley. Well, I cleaned all that junk out of here. You see it's starting to look really clean now. Take this fuel line on, this fuel dampener here, and then, I mean, we've just got the front of the engine to work on. That's pretty straightforward. Take the water pump off, distributor, and then the big pulley down the bottom. Well, I hope you enjoyed this second part of the tearing down of the 6.3. I will probably film the cylinder head on this side as well in the coming week or so. But that gives you the basic overview of what I'd done. You know, a bit stressful at some points, but really logically put together and logically comes apart, you know, and just soaking everything PB Blaster really. I think Peter on the group suggested that, which I was doing anyway, but it's a very good suggestion to do that. Next step, obviously, to get that off, the head off. And, I know, another question. Separating the block from the transmission, is there anything I should really pay special attention to? I'm going to support the engine like on a cradle, so it doesn't do tippy kind of thing. Undo the bolts and then crane this off the back of this cart, and then I will have a separate head here to mount the block back to, so we can spin it and start digging in underneath, taking the pan off. Along with that, obviously I've got to remove the front pulley, which is torqued down to around 250 foot-pounds. But pulling that pulley off, any special torque other than the puller I need to get, or I need to pay special attention to? Anyway, I think that's all the questions I have for you guys. Really appreciate any of the feedback that I've been getting from Christopher to Oliver to Marek, and sorry if I've forgotten any other names, but I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and take care. Bye bye.